On Monday, August 29th, we learned about reflective practice. In class, we learned about reflection and how reflection is used for improvement in different areas of one's life. You can use it in work, school, learning, is obviously the big one that we were learning about. Try to go beyond the experience itself and think of what was learned from that occurrence. There's different things that perhaps you'll look back and you'll say, oh, I really should have practiced more. So now looking back, you'll know, okay, before I do that, I need to practice or study more, or whatever it is. Discussion with other students. We talked about the hurricane and being prepared for that, and then reflecting back upon it. And I know people in the class were kind of talking about how they didn't feel completely prepared because when the electric went out, they didn't have water because they just, weren't thinking about that. When we were talking about the hurricane preparedness, my husband and I got all kinds of stuff ready. I made sure that, patio furniture and everything, I told him, put everything away, put it in the garage because of the wind. I didn't want stuff blowing away. And we got water beforehand, and we had milk, and we really thought we were prepared. But then afterwards, when the power was out, my husband mentioned how we could have probably just filled up buckets in the meantime, or bowls of water for the next morning, so that we could have at least washed our faces off and things like that in the morning. I mean, we could brush our teeth with the cold water, but the cold water would have been really cold on our faces, and even on my husband was he just wanted to splash water on his body, and couldn't do any of that. And even flushing the toilet, we couldn't flush the toilet. We didn't have any buckets of water to flush the toilet down with, so we had to be really conservative with that stuff. So looking back, I was able to learn that that was one thing that we should do next time we hear about a possible really bad storm that's going to come through. My best real life example that I can apply reflection to, and how I even use it today, is in my current job. I am a certified clinical hemodialysis technician. See, I don't know if you can see that, that's my badge. There I do a lot of patient care and things like that, but another part of my job that I personally do is something called water culturing, where I have to check our water because we use so much water and it goes directly to the patients, and it's something that we have to have ultra purified water. So what I have to do is monthly cultures. So I have to draw samples out of something called an RO machine, and sometimes, especially in the beginning when I first started doing it, I was having a lot of issues with cultures coming back really high, which is bad because if they're high, then we're not, we possibly couldn't run patients if they're too high. And I didn't know originally, what could I do? So I really had to sit down and do a lot of critical thinking about it. And when I was doing that, I started thinking of different things that possibly could have caused false positives in the system, false readings. Thought about, did I touch it with my hand? did I touch the sample port with my hand? So I thought about that, and I made sure I wore gloves, and I wiped it off with an alcohol swab the next time. Another thing later on when we had some positive cultures coming back was I thought about, we started using these hoses from the machines, and were they getting properly cleaned? So ended up going back and disinfecting them every time before I used them, and ended up thinking that's what it was. It was a couple of those different things ended up giving me better readings, which obviously was great because we knew that there wasn't anything wrong with our water, but also helped me because then I didn't really have to go back and again, because every time they come back, I would have to go back and do it again and again. So this helped me with my job because then it freed up more time for me to do other things. So that's how it applies right now. But I know in the future and in other situations in school and things like that, I can just think, you know, if there was a negative situation in a classroom, you know, and maybe it wasn't handled the best way, while that's not great, it's good because it's good to still go back and reflect upon it, because then in the future, you know, I could then resolve the situation better. One of the most important things I can take away from that class is that reflection is something that you need to keep current with doing. You just need to apply it constantly and always remember to keep learning.